how did you find the stand-up community? Did you find your people? Was it hard or easy to find your people?
Oh, not really. I mean, it just started with like Google searches, and, I just started taking comedy classes at some of the, local clubs, and start doing open mics, and you just start meeting the people who are out here hustling, and you find out, who you vibe with, who you have a similar energy with. Of course, there's a lot of comics, and of course, not all of them I resonate with in terms of, their energy and attitude. And I tend to be a fairly positive, supportive person. That is not always the case with a lot of comedians out here. So I feel like the tribe that I've
found a good tribe,
and we found each other are, a very loving and positive and optimistic people, and genuinely love comedy, which is ironic. I find a lot of comedians who actually just seem to despise it and hate it, which I don't get. But
right, which is part of maybe why they're not so positive. Yeah. I think it's funny because I did stand up. I did it very briefly, like 4 years ago. Decided, I'm going to get back into comedy in my 60s, and then but way back in the day, like in the early 90s, late 80s, I did it. And I did find that I said, you think that actors are insecure. Actors look like the most secure people on the planet next to comics. Like, I just feel like, and that's a bad, generalization to make, but it is, you can find a lot of people anywhere, but especially in comedy, that are so insecure, and that insecurity, manifests itself in a bunch of different ways. And sometimes maybe not being so friendly, or having a competitive vibe versus a community vibe.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes a special neuroses for someone to say, every single day I need to stand in front of a group of strangers and have them validate me by the thousands constantly. I need that every single day of my life.
Every day.
I need strangers to laugh at me. Yeah, there's something going on there. Believe me, I have dove into my own therapy and psychoses to figure like, why am I not just sell insurance in Ohio with a couple of kids and a wife and happy as can be? There is something that drives that.
Absolutely. But the thing is that we have no choice. We're powerless over that. We can't, it's sort of like, I remember Jane Fonda saying, I think this is a Jane Fonda quote. The only people that are actors are people who have to be actors. And I think it's the same thing with comedy, because it's so hard. It's so difficult that you do it because you have to do it. Otherwise, you would have become an insurance, and there's still time. You could, but that's not what you want to do. That's not what makes you happy. That's not what feeds you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trust me, I've quit plenty of times. I just felt, what's that line in The Godfather? Every time I take him out, something comes pulling me right back in. So, yeah.
So
I
you
specifically
quit?
remember there was this one time, like I was a couple years in, and I was just so discouraged. I'm like, this isn't going well, and it's hard.
And were you still in Phoenix, or were you out in LA?
No, this is in LA. And I just remember saying, like, I even had I booked like this little small alleyway show. It didn't mean anything, but I'm just like, I don't even want to do this, and I called the guy. I'm like, I'm not feeling well, and and I'm like, I'm done. And then 2 days later, I get a call from my first comedy teacher, who really got me started in stand-up. And he's like, hey, Paul, I just had a cancellation on a headliner next week. Can you come headline this show? And I'm like, just when I think I'm out,
they pull me back in.
So, so of course I went to that show, and it went really well. And I'm like, oh yeah, I actually am halfway good at this. And then I was back in it, So, I mean, those types of experiences happen enough to where I just go I don't know to what end, but I'm in it, I'm in it.
Yeah.
For the long haul, and whatever happens. But
yeah,
it'll always be a part of my life.
Well, yeah. And I think the trope that, comics are really insecure and they need attention, they need validation, and the same thing with actors and this, right? But I always say, where would we be if those types of people weren't out there? I mean, think of all the comics and what they've brought to the table. Where would we be without comedy? So thank God, right? Thank God everybody Thank God some of us are wounded in a certain way that where we say, please love me, like me. And it makes people laugh.
Yeah.
Losing it, losing it, losing it, losing it, losing it, losing it, losing it. If you